Hello BookTube. This is the first video of Triple Tag Monday. This is the Reread Book Tag. The tag was created by Ross of Scallydangling About the Books, and I was tagged by Jason of Byways in Bookland, and I will be leaving links to both videos down below, and thank you Jason for tagging me. Question number 1. Let's assume you do reread if you're doing this tag. So where do you sit on the rereading scale? From almost never to all the time? It's a mix. I'm not constantly rereading, but it's also not almost never. It's maybe a few books a year, maybe 10-ish or so, I would say. It's probably a midpoint. Closer more to not quite always rereading, but it's not either extreme. 2. Has that changed over your reading life? To a degree, yes. I think I used to be a much heavier rereader when I was younger, when I had less books and I didn't have as much access to books. I would reread constantly. I remember rereading the great illustrated edition of A Tale of Two Cities. I think I've read that several times. Treasure Island I might have read it several times. Several novels of Agatha Christie's I think I've read several times. I think I was a heavier rereader when I was younger, and then I'm kind of not as much nowadays. Question number 3. When do you reread? Maybe immediately after finishing a book, or not till years later, or when the mood strikes? Usually it'll be when the mood strikes, when I'm just in the mood for a reread, or if it's an earlier book and a sequel that's taking years to come out. Normally I'll try to wait a year minimum between rereads if I will reread a book, but it sometimes can be years in between rereads if I'm in the mood, or if there's a cause for rereading, say a new book in a series coming out or something like that. Question number 4. Why do you reread books? Usually to try to recapture the pleasure I derived from a first reading, or to really see if my opinions of the book have changed. If, as I've grown as a reader, my takeaways from the books I'm rereading are changing, and if my critical interpretations are changing. A good example would be probably my recent reread of The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. When I first read it, I kind of had a bit of a queer vibe coming from Quentin. Almost certainly unintentionally, but I detected it. And so in this reread, it's still definitely there, but I'm even more sort of convinced that I think the book needs another interpretation or another look beyond the standard interpretation. Although also I'm not as fond of The Sound and the Fury this time around as I was the first time I read it, so I'm usually far more critical of rereads than I am of new initial readings, I think. How do you reread? Faster, slower, just the best bits? I wouldn't say I read about the same rate. That I don't read faster or slower, it's about the same rate that I normally read books. Number 6. Who or what do you reread? More specifically, which authors or genres or individual books? Yeah, that prompt might need a bit of reworking, I think. Anyway, generally it will be writers that I'm in books that I'm really into, that I really, really like. Agatha Christie, China Mieville, particularly his boss log novels, which Wislawa Szymborska, they'll both show up here later too. Usually books and series that I'm enjoying, that I'm kind of getting caught up on for next volumes or final volumes coming out, that sort of thing. And usually I think also bringing in history. I do reread history when I can. I recently reread the Franco-German War. I'll probably reread the Peloponnesian War, spoiler alert, the Punic Wars. I also have on my docket the Age of Conquests, which is right there. So yeah. It's really probably quite random. It's not like specific genres or anything like that. 7. Is there a book that you found better when you reread it? I'm going to go with Radiance by Catherynne and Valente. I loved the book the first time I read it, and it took about a year off, and then read it again last year and really, really loved it. So much, in fact, that I might be rereading it again next month for Space Opera September. Although I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah. Definitely, I think this book improved on the rereading. And number 8. And one that was worse. I hate to do this, but The Last Son by Katie Edwards. I really, despite some of my problems with my first reading, namely Edwards' choices around Rune's backstory. Excuse me. But I mean, on the whole, I really enjoyed the book. But rereading it, I kind of noticed numerous plot holes and things that just kind of bugged me, and also Rune and Brian's treatment of Max, his kind of like the tag-along sidekick kid, who is more important in book 2, although he's still kind of sidelined in book 2, but he's more important in book 2. Rune and Max's treatment of him just bugs me to no end. So I definitely think I'm not as... My rereading of The Last Son wasn't as positive as I would have liked. But I might give it another go, either sometime this year or wait until Tarot Book 3 comes out, whenever that may be. Number 9. Which one book have you reread most times? This is an interesting fight, because I'm not entirely sure. It's either between Perdido Street Station by China Mieville, which I've read, I want to say 3 times, and View with a Grain of Sand by Wislawa Szymborska, which I know for sure I've read at least 3 times. Might also actually be 4. So I'm going to give the edge to A View with a Grain of Sand. I think this one is the book I've read most often. Of course, given that it is a slimish volume of poetry, it lends itself to rereading rather more easily than a 600 page mass market. But I do really enjoy Perdido Station. I'll give that a reread maybe next year. Anyway, so that was the Reread Book Tag. If you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. And I will see you in a few minutes, probably with the second of the tag trio. Okay, thank you, BookTube. Have a great afternoon, and see you in a few.